What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're laboratory mice. Their genes have been spliced. They're Pinky and the Brain. Brain, 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 brain. Before each night is done, their plan will be unfurled by the dawning of the sun. They'll take over the world. They're Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. Their twilight campaign is easy to explain. To prove their mousy worth, they'll overthrow the earth. They're Pinky and the Brain. Brain, 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 brain. Nerve!
Boy.
There he is. What's up there, Mr. Man?
I am so sorry. Ain't nobody's fault but mine. I looked at the last number in the invite. It said 9:30, but what I should have read was 9 to 9:30. So, well, I'm sorry, Roy.
Oh, it's no problem at all. Hey, it's just a pleasure having you here. I mean,
Thank you, buddy. It's a pleasure to meet you.
I tell you, man, you're a legend, man. I mean, for you people out there that's just tuned into ArkansasShowcaseRadio.com, Rob Paulsen, you've heard of Lon Chaney being the man of 1,000 faces. Rob is the man of 1,000 voices.
Oh, bless your heart, Roy. Thank you. I have been particularly fortunate in my career, and here it is culminating with a chance to speak to the equally legendary Roy Doyle.
Yeah, in my mind.
I'm very proud. No, I see you've got my buddy Pinky on in the background there.
Dude.
Exciting. It is as you can imagine, a remarkable way to make a living. I mean, when you're in radio, it's no different than what I do. We're in the same business. When you're in radio, you do it as a labor of love. You're not going to make $1 zillion unless you're Howard, and that's about 1 in a million DJs that make and acting the same way. I certainly make a nice living, but it's not like being a movie star. However, the joy that these characters bring to people, Roy, is something that continues to amaze me as I get closer to the end of my my run. I'm telling you, man, these opportunities to come to Arkansas and literally around the world and find out the extent to which these characters connect with people's souls, it is incredible. I'm so grateful that I chose this career path.
Well, I tell you, my daughters have all grown up with your voices.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, that could be kind of creepy, but anyway, we interview like rock legends, like
Sure.
Wind and Fire, Cretans and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's more people that really, when they found out about you, Pinky's going to be on your show. That's amazing.
Well, thank you. No, well, you kind of made my point. I could make the argument after 40 years in Hollywood that there are places I could go and mention to the locals Brad Pitt, and they would say, "Oh yeah, he's an actor, right?" However, I could go almost anywhere and say Ninja Turtles, and everybody would say, "Oh yeah, Las Tortugas Ninjas, Kawabunga." It would be. It's remarkable. The number of times I've been watching the news, and while the stories may be sad, I'll see like a refugee camp in Syria, and there are little kids wearing their Ninja Turtle T-shirts playing with a soccer ball. It's the most remarkable thing. No different than Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse or any of those things. And to be involved in a show like Pinky and the Brain or Animaniacs or Ninja Turtles, those shows have become arguably iconic. And to be clear, man, I don't draw them, I don't write them. I'm just the actor, and I'm an important part of the equation, but no more so than anyone else. And collectively, those talents result in something that all I have to do is say, "Nerf," and people just smile. It's the coolest thing in the world, man.
Now, how did you get started in this? I mean, it's got to be a crazy way to get started. Was it by accident, or did you seek it out to be a voice actor, or how did you come about that?
That's a great question, and I didn't seek it out. I was a singer first who became an actor and spent a number of years on the road when I was quite young, from 19 to, I eschewed my college career. I went to the first year at University of Michigan and came home and told my parents, look, I'm wasting your money and my time. You guys know you created a monster. You've been very supportive to me and my siblings and in our desire to perform, but I'm serious about this. I want to be in the moving picture business. So at 22, finally, I moved to LA, ostensibly to do live action, music, TV and stuff. And that's what I was doing. A lot of commercials on camera, but you recognize pretty quickly after even your fifth or sixth audition, let alone your 500th or 600th, you recognize pretty quickly that, man, everybody in this room looks like they could be your relative and they're all reading for the same part. This is crazy. But it's just part of the deal. However, having been predisposed to creating characters and singing in character and all that just for my own enjoyment, my agent said, hey, have you ever thought about auditioning for animated projects? And I said, well, yeah, but in those days, there were literally a handful of people who did them all. Mel Blanc and June Foray and Dawes Butler and just Penny Singleton, all the same people you've watched in zillions of cartoons and 40 odd years ago. But my timing was excellent. And I went and auditioned for G.I. Joe. I got the job. Then they put me on a show called Transformers when it was first starting. And it took me about 2 episodes to call my agent and said, man, look, I want to work, but this is the gig. Nobody cares what I look like. Nobody cares that I'm an average looking kid from Michigan. And now they still don't care that I'm an old kid from Michigan. And I was only limited by my creativity and my acting chops and the kindness of people to hire me. So, what I did, it turns out, was put myself in a position to get lucky, because I came a long way from Michigan, no different than millions of other hopefuls who show up every day in LA. But this opportunity would never have been afforded me had I not come here. And so I did it for about 4 or 5 years, and I was playing both sides of the camera. And then I finally said, I really don't care if people recognize me walking down the street. I love to work. I love to be creative. I can sing with all these characters. And lo and behold, all these years later, now people do recognize me. It's kind of crazy. I'm due to nice folks like you and other people who are kind enough to interview me in all these conventions, at which I'm a grateful guest. People have really started to pay attention. Social media, Zoom, YouTube. And so that's how that happened. But I'm busier now than I've ever been. And I recall having worked with Mel Blanc once or twice, a couple of years before he passed, but he was working into his 80s. And I'm old, but I'm not quite that old. And I've got a lot of time to keep doing this gig. And the opportunity to come and visit people in Arkansas is glorious, Roy, for the primary reason that after 2 or 3 days with you folks, I will leave utterly exhausted from saying thank you. And there is no better way to move through life. I am beyond grateful for this incredible opportunity.
Now, we've done some interviews with folks that that has done, like video games, and they said the pay is so much different on video games than, let's say, if you do Pinky and the Brain or those kind of things.
Yeah, it's true. Primarily because
fair to you?
Yeah, well, it's not. I don't know that it's fair. It's the nature of the beast. For instance, before I came to Hollywood, and the earlier years of the Screen Actors Guild, there were a lot of actors who came before me and my peers who were strong enough to demand back-end money, and those are called residuals.
Right.
So you just like you're in the music business, getting royalties from ASCAP or BMI, where you get paid for your contribution. And it's worked out really well, whether it's commercials or music, or now in streaming, way different. It's not dissimilar to video games. I'm sure you've had people on your show who are wonderful, new, incredibly gifted musicians, and they're primarily known for their songs being on streaming platforms, but they're not making a dime. I mean, you got to have a zillion streams to make a car payment. It's crazy. But hopefully there will be some way to monetize that for artists when they catch up with the geniuses who figured out how to stream performances. Same thing is true with streaming platforms on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. We make back-end money, but not nearly what it is on broadcast network stuff. And now in video games, there are no residuals. People like Troy Baker, Nolan North, Jennifer Hale, who are well-known video game actors. Mark Hamill does a lot of video games. The late, great Kevin Conroy doing the Batman Joker stuff. Once they get involved in a franchise, a video game franchise that becomes really successful, they can command upfront money and say, all right, if you want to use Roy Doyle on this show, Roy's already done 4 games that have sold 30 million units. So the audience is used to and is invested in Roy Doyle. So if you want Roy to do this, it's going to cost you, a couple $100,000 because there's no money on the back end.
Right.
So it isn't fair. But until recently, and I'm sorry to belabor this, but it really makes an interesting point. My son is in the video game business. He's now 38. But I recall probably 10 years ago, having gone to a SAG-AFTRA meeting, came home and I said, look, I got an interesting question for you. You're a gamer. I mean, really into it, produces games, all that stuff. Does the pedigree of the actor who is doing the talking monster or the lieutenant that's fighting the evil creature, does it matter to a gamer who that actor is? And he said, at this time, not really. As long as the gameplay is really cool and it's very seamless and all of that. But recently, in the last couple of years, he said, you know what, that's changing. Now, because of really successful game franchises, the audience hears Nolan North in their ear for 50 hours or for 100 hours when they play Uncharted. Mm-hmm. So Nolan, having been being the star of Uncharted for all the video game series, when a new game comes up, he gets paid really well. Unfortunately, that's not the case for everybody in gaming. I'm not a celebrity. Pinky is, Yakko is, Carl Weezer is, Raphael is a star. So if I go to do a video game, and I do a few of them, I'm not that prolific in video games, but if I make any money, it's going to be on the front end for maybe double scale or triple scale, which still is only a few $1,000s. Relative to the amount of money that video games earn, it's pittance. Yeah. So that's going to be the next frontiers, is how the Screen Actors Guild tries to find some equanimity with respect to compensation. But as you know, it's unless you can prove that if you don't hire Roy Doyle for this 4th installment of this cool video game, you're not going to sell it.
Right.
Then you got nothing. And that's the rub. Technology has gone so much faster than our ability to monetize it on all sides. So I have, being an old Hollywood dog, I've seen it really change, Roy, and it's mind-blowing. We have access 24/7 to every movie, every record, every TV show that's ever been made, all time, in every language.
Absolutely, yeah.
Amazing.
Now I was going to ask you, I mean, you got all these voices, do you ever lose your voice to these? I mean, sometimes you ever say, "Man, that wasn't really me. I'm Pinky now." All of a sudden,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
talking to my lawyer.
Sure. And honestly, that's kind of the goal. I think if I'm doing my job really well, when I begin speaking to you as Pinky, I say things that Rob would never say. Not to say that they are, rude or crazy or disgusting, but I'm quite stupid. And in my little brain, not my friend the brain, but in the brain that exists between my ears, I start to, even gesticulating, which is not a dirty word. I'm moving strangely, differently than I do when I'm talking like Rob. It is a really fascinating thing that happens to performers. And same thing with athletes. They often talk about being in the zone. And it's the same thing. When you can click into a character and it becomes second nature, organic, as they say, effortless, then you got something. Nancy Cartwright, when she does Bart, same way. Mark Hamill, when he's doing the Joker, it's just seamless. And so having been able to having had the good fortune of being Pinky and Yakko from the Animaniacs for a long, long time, those characters become part of your soul, and it doesn't work unless you lose yourself in it. In fact, as a coach, when I talk to other actors that are interested in doing this side of the camera, I tell them the first lesson is to become utterly unself-conscious. And I mean that literally, not conscious of who Roy is. When you inhabit a character, you kind of lose track of yourself. And it's a wonderful place to be. It's fascinating. And if it's done correctly, it results in something that can be relatively timeless. It's the same. Acting is acting. When Robert De Niro lost a ton of weight and then gained it back for Raging Bull, and no wonder he won an Oscar. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. And when you're able to inhabit a character like that, like many wonderful actors, it doesn't matter whether it's with your voice or your entire being. It needs to be that way for the authenticity of the character and for the audience to suspend their disbelief.
Now, talking about Robert De Niro winning an Oscar and stuff like that, what was it like winning an Emmy?
Oh, man.
Was that pretty cool or what?
Yeah. Oh, Roy, it was. It was, it was really the culmination of a lot of work, and, that experience where you're kind of stand in front of the mirror. People talk about it, holding a brush and saying, "I'd like to thank the Academy." It really was kind of like that. Growing up in, just north of Detroit, I have always wanted to be a performer. The hook was set pretty early for me. And so it was a dream come true. But the best part of it was twofold, or threefold, actually. My son and my wife were there. It was at Madison Square Garden in New York, and it was, of course, at a venerable place where if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. That was pretty cool. And my mom and dad got to watch it on TV, prime time. But a couple things happened at that particular one. It was fascinating because Susan Lucci, the venerable soap actress, had been nominated like 19 times. And that year, she won her first one. So I got to see that. Also, I'm a singer first, and Aretha Franklin was the entertainment, which blew my mind because Sister Aretha is nothing but the BEST ever. And then Fred Rogers got a Lifetime Achievement Award, and that was something to behold. And in the bowels of Madison Square Garden, when you win an award, you go off stage and they take you downstairs you go to the press room to talk to the press a little bit. Right. And as I'm waiting to go in to talk, I felt this tap on my shoulder, and I turned around. It was Fred Rogers. And now I didn't watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood because I was a little older than that, but everybody was aware, and for obvious reasons. And I got to tell you, Roy, that sweet man took my hand and shook it with both of his, and he looked right and dead in the eye, and he said, "Young man, your parents must be so proud of you. Congratulations." And I got to tell you, it was absolutely clear as to what it was that made him utterly unique. This sort of beatific, angelic, peaceful quality that was immediately apparent. And I was utterly starstruck. So it was not only about winning the award, which is pretty damn cool. I got to say, it didn't, it didn't
Where
make
is it? Where do you
money.
store it?
Yeah, mine is actually right now it's in storage because
It's in the garage.
and we have a storage unit. It's wrapped up beautifully, but we're thinking about moving, so we're kind of putting stuff in storage in preparation for that. But no, it was look, it's not like winning an Oscar, and it didn't all of a sudden make me a whole pile of money, but I ain't going to give it back. It was it's always nice to have your peers recognize your work. But my friend Maurice LaMarche, my friend the Brain, won 2 back-to-back primetime Emmys for his work on Futurama, let alone as the Brain. Maurice is ubiquitous on Futurama. And he's won a couple. Nancy Cartwright for Simpsons. So it's pretty neat to be in that club, and I'm I'm beyond grateful. But meeting Fred Rogers and listening to Aretha Franklin in real time was mind-blowing.
Now, the presenter, who actually handed you the award?
Yeah, my presenters were Tom Bergeron, who used to host Dancing with the Stars, and Whoopi Goldberg. And
really?
Yeah, because Whoopi has done a lot of cartoons. She was in The Lion King.
Yeah.
And of course, she's a terrific actress. But what was kind of silly on my part, I was so awestruck because, truthfully, I didn't expect to win. It was the third time I had been nominated, so third time was a charm. But in this case, I was nominated against Louis Anderson, Dennis Franz from Chicago, who did a show called The Lions or something, The Lion Pride or something, The Father of the Pride or something. Louis Anderson, Dennis Franz, Ernest Borgnine,
Really?
and Jeffrey Tambor, all actors with whom I'd worked, which was pretty cool. I'd worked with every damn one of them, but they're TV and movie stars. And normally, and understandably, it's about the people that have all the recognition, the face and all that. But I'll be damned. I happened to prevail. And you know what? To his credit, that sweet late Louis, he had already won an animated an Emmy for his animation work. And he also sought me out, and he said, "Rob, you're the only one that deserves one of these damn things. Congratulations." He could not have been nicer. But when I won, I was making sure that I thanked all the Warner Brothers people and Mr. Spielberg, who produces Pinky and the Brain, and my family and my wife and son. I forgot to mention Maurice. The show isn't the Pinky Show, it's Pinky and the Brain. And as I was walking off stage, I looked at Whoopi and I said, "Oh my God, I forgot to say something to Maurice." And she said, "Well, you can't go back out there now, honey." And I said, "You're right." So I found a phone booth, or phone, kids, PHONE. It was actually a telephone. People don't remember those, but I found a payphone in Madison Square Garden and called Maurice and apologized. And so we're all good. Plus, he's got 2 of them now, so I can't compete.
Now, after you won it, did you take everybody out to IHOP or something?
Yeah, I actually, you know what we did? My brother lives in Manhattan, just off Times Square. So we were maybe 10 blocks from my brother's apartment. And what was really cool is my wife and son and I in our tuxedos, and my wife in this beautiful gown, we grabbed a cab and took the Emmy and went over to my brother's apartment before the show was over. And so he had just seen me win this award, and probably 45 minutes later, we got to his apartment, still in our tuxes and holding the Emmy. And it was kind of cool. As we were walking through the building, there were people going, "Hey, dude, congratulations." It was pretty neat. So I showed up at my brother's apartment with my Emmy before the show was even over. It was kind of fun.
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, you I mean, really, you got to think about it. I know you're really, really down that you think that you're just like a regular old guy, but man, I got tired just reading all the credits.
Oh,
I had to put it away. I'm like, man, this is just too much. It's wearing me out.
well, thank you, buddy. That's a high compliment, and I know that you guys have a job that you love doing, but still, you've got to often talk to people that sometimes may not be very good conversationalists. Sometimes you don't know what they do, or sometimes it's a quick interview and they don't know you, you don't know them. I am obviously have no trouble speaking, rambling. But one of the things I do know is I am profoundly fortunate and really grateful. And you could talk to anybody, Roy, and I know that. The fact that you take your time to chat with some whack job from Hollywood who makes his living essentially doing what got him in trouble in 7th grade is not lost
My
on
daughter
me.
made me.
Well, thank you.
I'm just kidding.
By the way, does she have a favorite character that I do? Do you know?
Oh, yeah. Pinky.
Oh, good. Okay. What is your daughter's name?
Desiree.
Okay, Desiree, hello, it's Pinky here. Thank you so much for encouraging your sweet daddy to talk to me because, as you know, I'm the stupid one. But I'm smart enough to know that Desiree is the one that runs the show in the Doyle family. Love. Bye. So that kind of stuff just makes me so happy. And I truly appreciate your time and Desiree's attention. And to those of folks listening out there, we'll see you in, a week.
That's around the corner.
Yeah, just a weekend after this one coming up. I'll be in Little Rock, and we're going to have a blast. I can't wait to come.
And if you got time afterwards, I'll take you out to some of the best barbecue.
Oh, bless your heart. Thanks, man. I appreciate. Are you going to be at the convention?
I am.
Great. Are you going to bring Desiree?
No, she's in Tampa. She's down in school down there.
Okay, great. Where is she going to school?
University of South Florida.
And what is she studying?
Her PhD in communications.
PhD? Wow. Man, you're way out of my league.
I'm Pinky.
Yeah.
She's the brain.
Boy, I guess we're all Pinky according to that, because like I said, I lasted 1 year in college, and as much as I love the University of Michigan, this just ain't for me. So, well, bless her heart. PhD in communications. Does she want to work in media?
Not at all. I mean, she's been on our shows and everything. She's met all these people, and she's like, "No, Dad, I really don't want to do that." She was on the show once before, and she turned it down.
Fantastic! What a smart girl. Well, I have been fortunate to find a way to earn American dollars, as I said, doing what used to get me in a little trouble in 7th grade. But you and I are in the same business, and then I'm really
everything works out good for you because all the checks cashed.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm the same way. People often ask me, as I've really been fortunate, and they'll say, is there ever anything you've done that you regret? Not one bit. Everything that I've done, I've been paid for, and I've been paid well for. If I didn't want to do it, I could have easily said, not interested. Here's your check. This is not my cup of tea. And I don't believe I've ever done anything that's too egregious or too outrageous, but there are things that some people don't particularly care for, but man, every check cleared. And anytime you get someone who is in the entertainment business, and we both know how difficult it is to get to a place where you are able to work a little, let alone put your kid through college, have a house and cars and insurance like normal people. I've won the lottery, and I know it. So ain't got nothing that upsets me on the back end here. I've been very fortunate and grateful.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and really look forward to meeting you. I'll be down there in the morning, and
Great.
I'll look you up, and then we can set up a time to go eat some barbecue.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you, Roy. You've been very kind, and apologies again for keeping you waiting for a half an hour. That was absolutely all my fault. And
oh, it's no problem at all. It was well worth it. Let me tell you that, Mr. Man.
Buddy. Well, you take care of yourself, and we'll see all you folks in Little Rock in about 10 days.
I tell you, you take care now, and try to find your Emmy somewhere before it gets thrown away.
All right, I'll make sure, and before I will. I said, honey, Roy told me I got to go dig the Emmy out of storage, so I will. Thanks, pal.
Okay, you take care now.
man. Bye-bye.
Jude, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're laboratory mice. Their genes have been spliced. They're Pinky and the Brain. Brain, 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 brain. Before each night is done, their plan will be unfurled by the dawning of the sun. They'll take over the world. They're Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. Their twilight campaign is easy to explain. To prove their mousy worth, they'll overthrow the earth. They're Pinky and the Brain. Brain, 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 brain.